Welcome to September speaker series with the one and only Albert Munyabugingo, aka Bebeto. I call him Bebeto, so I don't want to mention a name and you all look at me as if I made a mistake.
I guess it's half of the half of the people in the room as well.
Yes, it's good to have you. Meet the Irembians, like you mentioned on your teaser. These are the Irembians, and there's probably a lot more that will be following this on record after the session. You know the drill. This is a very organic conversation. I swear I don't have questions written. Given this is a sector that's dear to me, it's gonna flow, I guess. But rule of the game, don't ask why ballistic is not on VUBA VUBA. That one settled. Bebeto is an entrepreneur, like some of us here and many out there, but not any entrepreneur. He's a pioneer because the sector he's in is a very unique sector. I would say that maybe 10 years ago, food delivery wasn't even a thing. But right now, they feed us literally knocking at our doorsteps. And VUBA VUBA is really the leading in this space. He'll tell us a lot more about what they do on a day-to-day, the vision and how it came about. I've known him for probably a couple of years, not to start mentioning my age and his age. We made 3 initiatives before this, so it's good to have this chat as friends, but also as someone we look up to and someone who's definitely going to inspire a whole lot to the Irembians. I'll let you tell us the story. I won't tell your story. It's as simple as we'll have a set of questions and maybe from the different things that you share with us, and then we'll open it up to the audience to also ask their questions. But maybe even as I ask, I'll be picking on some nuggets. I know that you're soon celebrating your 4th year. You're probably four months to that, which is impressive. And we've heard a lot of good news on the recent shortlisting, top 10 African entrepreneurs. You'll tell us more about those things. We've seen you go eco-friendly with bicycles, e-bicycles. There's a lot of exciting news, so we're eager to hear about what the future of VUBA VUBA looks like. But maybe, how about you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey, and then we'll get into VUBA VUBA afterwards.
Why does it feel like you've said it all?
Those are nuggets.
Yeah, sure. It's an immense pleasure to be here today. I know interact with almost everyone in this room on probably daily, weekly basis. But it's always good to get time to share insight and learn from each other's journey and all. So yeah, as Richie said, my name's, yes. Yeah, there's Bebeto, but then it's written in a different way from the old Bebeto. It's a new journey of Bebetos. So yeah, it's my journey has been quite challenging, like all of us as well. I was born, studied, and everything in Rwanda, and in different youth initiatives where I met Richie and many of the team members as well. That was a youth-led organization called PLP, among others. This time you're out of, you're done with high school, but then you don't really understand and you don't know anything about the journey you want to take, right? So some of the initiatives that come up with for young people would be like, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of the change, right? So I would say my journey literally almost started with PLP, where you get to meet people, new minds and people who see the world different from how you see it, and you get to accept and actually be challenged and all that. But my professional journey then started with Tigo back in 2012, I guess. Very entry level. I was in the call center by then for about a year, if I remember well, and went on, had an opportunity to work with the food delivery that was starting by then. It was by then it was called Hello Food. So I joined the team, sort of started learning about e-commerce. It was probably my first time. I had ordered with e-commerce as probably before, but it's that dream you had, and you be like, technology. All of us here love technology, but the very moment you step in, then that's when your journey starts. So I joined Hello Food in 2014. Worked on different roles as well. When you join a startup, you are. I had my former boss was a Kenyan. He was called Duncan. Um, he knew very little about the market. He's a brilliant person in terms of e-commerce and all, but he knew very less on the market. So this time you're from a call center and then you're joining a startup. You're doing a bit of everything, right? You're a CFO, you're doing operations, you're doing call center as well, literally sort of combinations, which I would say is a very good. Sometimes when we have a lot on our table, we feel like we're complaining, like this is a lot for me and all. But sometimes it's actually preparing you to be, at the end of the day, you don't want to be, if you're in ops or finance, you don't focus on what you know how to do, right? You're looking for challenges and all. As I'll say, it's part of the journey that I learned a lot as well in the sector until, Hello Food rebranded to Jumia until they exited the Rwandan market. Among other markets, they were exiting in 2019. So myself and the team, I'm with Leandre and Miguel. We had understood that we knew what it takes to run an e-commerce platform in Rwanda. The only thing we were sourcing with Jumia was the tech part. But everything else was being run locally, from the top to the bottom of the line. So yeah, we had a very interesting conversation with my co-founder. He's called Kaneza. I'm sure many of you guys know him as well. On a cup of coffee, discussed and all. So we had to. It was a tiresome December 2019. So I'll tell you the journey of exit of Jumia. So we woke up a very good sometime beginning of October, no, mid-October. We usually had Tuesday calls, so you woke up on a call, and then so it was usually a call for all different country managers for Africa. But then that day after the call, the boss for Africa on the Jumia Food side was like, Albert, would you please remain on the call? Like, okay. Either probably being fired or I had no idea what to expect. And then I stayed on the call. I was like, unfortunately, we won't be operating in Rwanda by next year. Like, wait, what do you mean? This is October, and yeah, it was as thinking about the company exiting, looking at the team we had, people about to lose their jobs, from staff to delivery riders to myself. Sometimes when many of us Rwandans, every time I get a chance to, I think His Excellency has really set the ball so high that people have expectations about us. The expectations are really, really high. This time I feel like there was different proposals of probably working in another country and all, but then you battle with it of about, it was like a week, intensive week, sleep. Our Kinyarwanda song, yeah, indingo ndasinzira ibitotsi nkabibura. It was almost the same thing. But get to sit with my co-founder, and then we had discussions, and we had to build our agreement. And though I'll say the first version of the app was built. I have a tech background as well, but not as strong as many of you guys, so we don't go deep in tech. But the first version of the app was built in about 35 days, and super tiresome. For those who've downloaded the first version of the app, it was shitty, very shitty. I have to admit that. But yeah, journey then, shared with the team. The vision we had, I believed in it, and we jump into the journey together, and yeah, here we are, almost 4 years, and serving you guys, and yeah, that's a little bit of the journey, and quite open to discussing more.
Thanks. That's quite inspiring. My follow-up question to that is, it was easy for you to decide and move on once Jumia had closed shops with Rwanda. What conviction or what really informed your drive to keep up with what you had done previously, and maybe just walk us through the mental process that went into you getting to a place where you knew that it was important that you continued, and what are the things that informed that decision?
It wasn't simple at all. Like, it was one of the toughest decisions probably I've made in my life. Because when they're exiting, I was given an offer to keep working in Senegal. This time you look at the contract and all. So it was, as I said, probably more than a week thinking about what it's going to look like, and what are going to be the next steps. But then something I'm really proud of is we had built a team that really understood what it takes to run this type of a business. And the first thing I had in my mind was the team I had by then. I was like, we've run this for about 4 to 5 years, and we understood it. So the very first push I had was the team. But also, this time it's really good in this era that we have I would say agile and friendly leaders, right? You guys are so lucky to have a CEO like Israel, someone that I knew a very long time ago as well. But then sometimes when you're working with people, where if we had an implementation, something that we believe works for Rwanda, what I used to do back then, I used to go through Kenya or Nigeria because they were big countries. So if they're pushing to the tech team or the central team of the old company, it could flow literally very fast. But then if it was a feature for Rwanda, like, the less than 2 million city, Kigali, is that really going to be a game changer? So it was very exciting as well, because I believe that it's now time to do implementation that we believe work, that we couldn't have done before because of that authority and bureaucracy and hierarchy that is quite long. So it was quite a tough decision for myself to make, and I don't know if I got it well.
Oh yes, you touched. Now fast forward, you have probably hundreds of vendors you're transacting with, and thousands of transactions or orders on a given day or a daily basis. Some of them are right here.
I hope you had as many as possible today.
How do you demystify food delivery? Let's start there. I know that VUBA VUBA has a lot more than just food delivery as services. How do you demystify that process to someone who's just clicking on an app and getting things delivered to their doorsteps?
Would I really call it demystifying? Because I know you guys interact with almost the same hustle that we go through. Out there, some people think that probably technology 100% in what we do, but it actually plays probably as little as 30% contributing to that, because the whole value is we want to be that person you send to a restaurant or the market, and then we want to have a mindset as if it was yourself going there, right? So we the very moment you go in the app and place your order, we understand that we need to take care of the very first second until it gets delivered. Sometimes we get late orders. I'm sure you guys have experienced it. Sometimes it gets super fast. Other times it gets late. So that in between the processes are as hard as sitting in a restaurant. We've all experienced this, right? Where you go in a restaurant and when you're placing your order, the waiter or the waitress is like, you guys probably need to do that exercise as well. Like, how long does it take? I don't know where it comes from, but we have two answers always: 15, 20 minutes. I don't know where this comes from. But this is a hassle we deal now on a daily basis, right? So they're not able to tell you the right time while you sit in the restaurant. Now imagine if you're actually placing an order online and all, right? So there's still this understanding that whoever is sitting in the restaurant is still being given sort of priority and all that. While to me and to everyone else, it actually should be the opposite. If I'm in a restaurant, probably on a Friday evening, I don't even realize if my order has taken probably an hour. But if I order being at the office, 20 minutes feel like probably 2 hours, something. But the very moment you place your order, we receive it in our back office. We confirm from how clear is your address and all the steps, and send it. We're not yet there yet, but we want to automate the whole process. I'm sure we have a lot to learn from you guys, because you've literally digitized the whole country, and for us, we're looking at just one component. But the very moment you place your order, we send it. We have three types of apps. We have a client-facing app, we have a merchant app, and the riders app. So the moment you place your order, we send it to the merchant through their app, because we don't want to miss any single detail, right? You place your order, like, I'm allergic to onions or any other thing. Sometimes, this game we used to do back in the days, ukabwira umuntu ijambo, and then at the end, it's so we transmit it digitally to the merchants, and they confirm that everything is ready. And then when it's ready for pickup, we send it to the rider app as well. So they control everything from the address to everything until it gets delivered to the customer. So the back end office, we've all faced this challenge where you order something from a restaurant, and then when the order is coming from the kitchen, like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, this is not available. You get probably order on the third trial. The first two ones have failed already. So that's the hassle we deal on a daily basis. Leandro and Miguel knows we actually have daily meetings every day from 9 to 9:30, 8:30 to 9:30 every single day, operation wise, to look at the previous day, how did it go. Sometimes we make it as short as 30 minutes, but then you don't want to miss any single detail of what happened yesterday, because a B2C sort of business is very much sensitive on the end user. And then, we speak with these restaurants, currently almost 500 partners. It'd be like, when you wake up in the morning, go in the app, remove every product that is not going to be available for that day. But you still understand that it's, but the percentage of them doing that is still tiny, but it's a struggle, and we're happy of what we are now. So that's a sort of journey from when you place an order until it gets delivered.
I want to take you back a little bit. Every entrepreneurship journey has anecdotes or like funny things you look back and laugh at. What are those moments that when you look back, you're like, okay, this was really funny, or this thing we did was just a rookie kind of mistake, and Walk us through those milestone that were kind of turning points for VUBA VUBA and for you personally.
Uh, well, let me start with the ones that I don't call mistakes, but then I call them mysterious and probably doing, some crazy things, right? Yeah, so when I learned that Jumia was exiting and sitting with the team, I think Leandro was part of the first told, this time you sitting in front of people and actually assuring them that, you have it figured out. You'd be like, no, it's things are set and we're good to go. But then on top of my mind, thinking about, financially what's in on the company bank account, I was like, guy, you know, you can't be lying to people this much. When I think about it back in the days, I'm like, okay, it actually worked and in a positive way. At least since we started from the very day one, we never missed a payroll any single since day one. By thinking about it from then, I'm like, yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that's one of the biggest I would say. And then second one is myself and my co-founder, our sort of corporate governance way of working is not the best. Um, so we believe in that sort of startup mindset. Sometimes we ask. I say that we have daily meetings, right? That includes weekends, and ethic and work ethic. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. But I'm sure you guys do as well. Oh, you don't? Okay.
You heard the man.
Thank God there are no stones over there because I'll be like. So yeah, it's sometimes we have, uh, this agile way of doing things and stand-up meetings. Sometimes we do have calls at 8:30 in the evening and all. Of course, if um, and it's very much challenging and yeah, that way of, but it's something that we're creating now through the ABH process, as you said, the recent one. We were also um, urged to work on our sort of corporate governance part of the thing. I'm like, having meetings over the weekend and it should be a Monday to Friday, and also it's something that we are adjusting and working on as well. But yeah, at least now we're getting there. But when we started, it was something we laugh at as well. During COVID, we had probably 90% of the team tested positive in about 3 days. Um, that was hectic. That was so we had to go back to the roots, right? So from me probably canceling all my meetings, doing picking all your orders, dispatching, speaking to the riders and all. So that's the very time. I think that was in 2021. Um, where you step out of your position to actually calling for meetings and actually be like, who am I going to call? I mean, everyone is, yeah, then you go back to the basics. I think there's a time we ran operations being as currently the team is 38 full-time people, but by then I think we're running a period of a week or probably 2 weeks, running everything being about I think 5 or 6 people. So it was it's one of the things I look back and I'm like, okay, I probably did a mistake to make people work extra hours with probably no, yeah, but it's some of these things as well. Yeah.
Wow. So recently we heard the news, top 10 Africa's business heroes. That's quite an impressive thing. I think you were shortlisted among over 27,000 entrepreneurs across Africa. And then I also saw this exciting news about the electronic bicycles. There's a lot of exciting things going around with VUBA VUBA. What does all that mean for the future of what you're doing and the different visions that you've set for your business?
Yeah, the starting with the Africa Business Heroes part of it. Um, the first one is there's of course there's a network of investors, decision makers we're going to be part of. We're already part of, and there's a cash prize to win at the end as well. We're already on one step. There's still more to go in November. But to me and the team, we look at it as a big opportunity in terms of leveraging Jack Ma and Alibaba, because it's almost the same thing we're trying to build back home. But if you look at similarities from Africa, and Amazon is the biggest e-commerce platform worldwide, trying to be a marketplace as well. But if you look at similarities, most of people in the US have been exposed to technology for a very long time ago. But then when you look at, on the other hand, when you look at China, when probably Alibaba was starting, it was something very new to them as well. So we look at it as a venture we have a lot to learn from, and leveraging the sort of cross-border commerce type of business. Probably 90% of the products we use in Rwanda and in Africa are being imported from China. And most of these are listed on Alibaba. So we're looking to leverage this platform to build part of the next steps of VUBA VUBA, to empower actually wholesalers of Rwanda, to give them a channel to source all their products within a single clicks on our VUBA VUBA app. So sort of API integration with, we haven't discussed this with Alibaba as well, but it's something we're looking to leverage in ability to integrate and make all your orders through our app. And of course, that being said, it shouldn't be only be in Rwanda, because our name is actually VUBA VUBA Africa. And if you can connect Africa to China through a mobile app, so far successfully no one has done it before, apart from the company themselves trading to Africa. But then and the main reason no one has done it before is this hustle and struggles of connecting two platforms and ensuring that logistic wise everything goes well. But as I'm saying, I'm really looking forward to learning from Irembians of how you guys have managed to digitize from Umurenge to every single sector with these blockers that we have, and going green as well on the electric bike that we currently testing. Two sort of problems we're trying to solve in here. The logistic costs are very high in terms of what we charge versus what we expense through the whole ecosystem. But that the bike itself is going to be less expensive than the bicycle is going to be less expensive than the bikes, and the performance is quite almost the same, because probably the delivery time varies within 1 to 3 minutes. But then if the cost goes as well a bit lower, then it speaks volume, as well as going to the. We don't want to be part of the people who are polluting the space every day, right? So we want as well to take our step in making sure that our planet is gets more sustainable, and the rest of the people could live freely on it. That's whole that contributes to the whole vision that we have to be a one-stop shop for every product service in Rwanda/Africa as we keep on expanding to other countries. And when the vision is, we want online ordering to be as easy and reliable as everyone might think about. Because currently, as you spoke about transactions, I think with the recent census, Kigali has, I think, closer to 1.7 million people. But daily transactions now, we're now doing an average of 1,200. And, you can see how small that portion is on the entire, at least within Kigali itself. But we're now in Musanze and Rubavu, but then we want that ordering process to be the first thing, the first reason people don't use online ordering is the trust and reliability. It'd be like, what if I order and it doesn't get delivered as I wanted it? How do I get my refund back? Why do I order online where I can actually pass by and pick a product that I'm thinking about? So it's more of the reliability, and we want to be held accountable for every single order you make and every single process we made. And we at least we don't want to be over promising and under delivering on the other hand. So that's sort of bigger picture we have for the company, starting with Rwanda as running operations, but then we're looking at expansion as well. We spoke about as we're winning the ABH competition, that is going to empower us as well, financially, growth-wise, professionally, because on the pipeline we have one more country to that I'm not going to disclose now, but in 2024 we'll be going to one more country, and as we get along, the name Africa should probably come. Shouldn't be VUBA VUBA Africa, it probably should be Africa VUBA VUBA.
You heard it from the band. Food is the first mile, and as you can see, the sky is no longer the limit. I'm sure people are burning with questions. I'll ask you one last question, and then I'll open it up to the audience. What is VUBA VUBA's approach to customer experience?
That's probably going to take 2 hours. But it's I think to any business to be sustainable, the first step is to acquire a customer, but then the next step is actually to retain that customer, which is the second, to me and the rest of the team as well. The second one is harder than the first one most of the times, and some of the key pillars that we always try to keep in mind while serving the people is what I just spoke about, over promising, right? So we all live in the same environment, neighborhoods. We understand what happens, and customers do listen. Customers really do listen if you are proactive. If you're doing business and you see that there's going to be a blocker in the next 1-2 days or something, if you communicate ahead of time, customers are very much understanding. So that's the play we want to. We, of course, as well, you don't want to be that. There's one of the approaches the team is using now that I want to change as well, but we're still looking at it. But every time an order is late, there's this way we call people to update, but it has been like a Bible, right? So just a phone call, and some people actually start seeing the phone call and like, I know what you guys are going to tell me, like, as well, working on the improving our processes. We don't want to be giving excuses every time, like, oh, because we've been proactive, we communicated every time, and because our customers do understand, we don't want to sit back and learn and be like, because they understand, we're going to pre-communicate. So this time we have commitments to customers. Sometimes we don't make these public because we don't want to be held accountable every time we don't, but it's something that we're thinking about as well. At least we promise you that we're going to deliver in this time. If we don't, then we have sort of compensation to go along. If you realize on the app, on the new version of the app, we started having an estimate delivery time per restaurant, which is based on the previous data, probably the same days last week, same hour, what was the delivery average delivery time, and then we show that to you ahead of time, so before you so you're aware of that. So in terms of customers, we believe every business that is B2C, it has to be customer centered, and understanding that, however, the from the first order we made when we started to 1200 where we are now, we just have to have that mindset that we're still a startup. We're still that company in 2020, the second month, the very time we think that, everyone is speaking about VUBA VUBA and all. If that sinks in our mind and the rest of the team, that's when we start seeing one order that is late and we think it's actually acceptable, but it shouldn't be. It definitely shouldn't be, because that customer, something that works very well in marketing is the word of mouth. At least in Rwanda, if someone has received very good service from you, they're literally going to be to bring you probably times 10 of where they are now. So look at the customer journey. At least whoever has joined our platform, we look leveraging them and retaining them for about 15 to 20 years. So if you've deleted the app, now is the time to re-download it.
We've also seen updates. It looks neat and clean. Yeah, the floor is yours now. Those of you that have burning questions. Let's start with Eliane up there.
Let me first start by saying that I'm a gold customer. So
Oh, yeah?
maybe a small gesture would be appreciated. I just have a small question. As technology and user expectations evolve, how do you stay up to date with emerging trends and adapt your design approach for your clients?
Okay. I think in the industry where we are, we do learn from. There's to be quite honest. There's nothing super new that is being born from what we do. What it is, we look, we benchmark ourselves to the rest of the people who do it worldwide, and gather different features and new cool features that everyone is developing, and then bring all this together. We have our tech review sprint in about every 2 weeks to revise and see what actually makes sense to the community in Rwanda, because some of the features are probably on the e-commerce or food delivery platforms elsewhere. But if you're meant to bring that in Rwanda, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense because of the community and all. So we stay ahead and look at the bigger platforms and look at what everyone is doing, and then but sometimes we have new features. Recently, we hosted students from Harvard for their internships. They do have something that is called Global Immersion Program, where they reach out to different countries and learn, contribute, and the rest. So some of the features actually they hadn't seen that before. Like only in Africa, that's where you have an e-commerce platform that runs on cash on delivery as an option. So everyone who've been in the West comes in and like, what do you mean cash on delivery? So even that term is sort of new. So I'll say some of the things are born not only in Rwanda but in Africa, and then you adjust to what we are on the user experience. So we every time before we launch any product and all, and then feature on the existing app, we have a team of testers in-house and outside, and I'd love to have you guys part of it. And we do value the feedback, because testing it in-house sometimes that doesn't give a picture of an end user who've never been in the tech industry. Sometimes I feel like something is quite obvious until you release it to the public. I'm sure you face it on a daily basis. with the new campaign that you guys are pushing, probably myself as well, sometimes I'm like, I need to do a service. I'm like, oh, my Irembo guy up there. Sometimes you think something is as easy as it seems until people actually not doing it. Like, and sometimes that doesn't make sense to you until you have a conversation with the end users, people who've never interacted with tech and that. But it's a journey, and we leverage different focus groups from customers and gather feedbacks, and so far it has been going well. But as we grow, we're going to make it as well as big as we can to interact within institutions. So you guys are more on the B2C side as well, G2C as well, and it's I'll say we do face the same sort of challenges, and we should be having this conversation quite often. Yeah.
I'm curious to know what really drives your decision making. You really had a small period of time to make a decision of becoming a CEO, of establishing a whole business from ground up. And then, like, what has really even kept you moving for the past 4 years? So that's my first question about Bebeto, as Richard mentioned. And the other question is about VUBA VUBA as a business. I just feel like we have a lot of similarities. That means like Irembo and VUBA VUBA. You have VUBA VUBA Party, VUBA VUBA Food, VUBA VUBA Pharmacy, and it's the same as us. We have different clients or partners that we're serving, and it's quite impressive that the person that pays us is different from the person that we have contracts with. So how do you manage to maneuver all these things? How do you manage to maneuver different people, different businesses, different ethics, and you still are able to delight your customers? Thank you.
Questions that are going back to Bebeto, not Albert and CEO and all. Um, hmm. That's true. That's true. The decision-making process is can be quite challenging. But what really influences it from my end is being in VUBA VUBA's day-to-day operations. When we started, I was actually 2020, 2021. I was having a lot of conflict with event organizers and all. Like, no, we want you to be, part of that panel. And as a young CEO, by then I was young, and but then for me, I wanted more of being in the office and not really in the office, but then being in the operation, day-to-day operation, because that's when you understand them and it eases the decision-making process. It gets a bit different from my past experience working for Jumia. Sometimes you were, this time and moment, you feel like your decision and what you want to make is 100% true, accurate, and it's going to be a game changer. But then because you don't have 3 to 4 approvals, you don't do that, right? And at least I try my best to make the team not go through that. If there's something you want to run in the operation or marketing or anything, I try my best to create space for them to talk to me directly, right? And at least spending time with them, because you don't want to be as well, that CEO who over demands. You're literally demanding something that is not doable, but then because they want to implement it, sometimes sitting back. There's a speech. I was on Twitter yesterday and I saw that speech from Afande General James Kabarebe. He was saying that it's actually very easy to be a leader, right? So you put something out there and technicians implement, and then you take the credit. Like, because they probably don't have that sport to take the credit. Just be like, yeah, Albert. So sometimes I take credits of from my team, while the magic, they're the one who did the magic. So what I do is I get involved, and it eases the decision making part of the process as well. When sometimes when you let the title define you as a person, sometimes you miss some of the components because I always have this fight with the team. I'm probably going to fail on that and probably admit it. But there always be like, you need an office. You need your own office space. I'm like, for what? All of us sitting in the same building, you speaking to a customer, me sending an email, it's actually not conflicting, at least in my believing. But they've been pushing so much for that. Part of the corporate governance, I think at some point I'll probably give up on that, but I think it goes with the team getting mature as well on a daily basis. So the decision-making process gets as low on the level that from me to the person working in the customer service, we want to get to a level where if we're meant to think about a decision, it should be the same without even consulting each other. I think it goes with people getting familiar with the businesses and processes in place in the business itself. So I think the decision making, empowering people to make their own decisions. Sometimes Miguel or Leandro calls me like, you have an answer to that. You actually can make a decision and actually inform me, probably not seeking for my approval sometimes on some of the decisions. So I think it eases the process of decision making. What was the second point again?
I think actually I also need to clarify the first one. It was much more around your career decision making. So I believe you mentioned that you had an offer to work with Jumia in Senegal, and you were like, I would choose to be a CEO and start something from ground up. So what really pushed you to make such a decision? To me, it's really radical, I believe it was at the start of COVID, a lot of uncertainties, all of a sudden, like almost a couple of your employees are sick. Like what has really pushed you? What really pushes you as a person? Not within VUBA VUBA context.
Okay. So the how do I call it? The ability to deliver and when I believe in something that is doable, and probably now I don't have the ability to do it, or because I'm not the last decision making person, what I do is I probably learn back, but doesn't mean that I've given up to that implementation decision as a person. So back to that decision of not going to Senegal and starting a business in here, one of the pushes is I was somehow full of frustrations because of the things I wanted to have implemented back then, but then I didn't have a chance to, right? So some part of, every time I get frustrated, or it's actually when I work the most, is when I deliver the most. I think part of every time I'm sort of feeling pain and all, my best way to release it is actually getting in front of my laptop or actually going to work. It sort of eases the pain that I'm most of the time feeling. So I think part of making that decision was the inner part of me was like, no, this business actually works, and it's up to you to prove to the Jumia founders and the rest of the people as well who believe that Rwanda was a small market, things can't work and all. So it was that sort of anger that made me do that, and I'm glad it worked. Actually, in 2022, they reached out again, and I was like, okay, it actually works, and we're still as young as 3 years, getting closer to 4 years. So I'm not going to say that we, at least on a good path. If some people who believed it's actually not doable and looking at it now, so it's that frustration sometimes and anger that drives me to do that. But then, to be quite frank with you, I had no idea that it was the best decision I was making. Even after making it, I was like, oh, I probably should have taken the offer. It was very good, and the uncertainty of a decision you are making, to me, you never be sure of the decision you're making until you actually make it and go through it. So the very moment you sit on a plan and be like, let me plan for probably 2 years on this. For me, I'll rather plan for 2 months, implement the first part of it, collect feedbacks and learnings, and then redo it again as a whole exercise. So to me, even up to now, the decision you make, you gather data and that are going to help you make a decision. But I wouldn't tell you that before we do something, I'm 100% sure about it now. But then you have this percentage that is convincing you, and you be like, let me actually go through it and elaborate and perfection it as we go on.
I'm going to ask for personal mentorship, and we'll do it publicly with everyone listening to us. I think I'm curious to hear about how you manage, maybe I have two questions. One, how you manage the tensions between serving restaurants. I think you are also a way for them to have more distribution, acquire more clients far out of their distribution zone. Riders, I think during COVID, you had a surge in riders who want to be part of VUBA VUBA, how you manage the pricing and the conflicts on value creation, as well as what you talked about in terms of consumers. That's question number one. I think the second question is, how do you sustain operational excellence? I think you have an SOP, you say this is how we answer to clients, this is the value we have, and maybe it takes you 2 weeks and it just goes back down. This is a process to manage an incident or an issue. You put it in place, you have a meeting, you have trainings, and then after 2 months, it goes back down. How do you really sustain operational excellence? Thank you.
Oh, I had no idea we do, but thank you. uh, to the first one, I think there is sometimes some sort of conflict of interest in how we operate. On the merchant side, we now have around 500 partners, and the biggest question that arises every time we speak to every of them are like, I want to be on top of the list. Every time someone else open the app, I want to be the first one to be seen. Take-wise, we've been developing an algorithm that sorts people because what we want to achieve is, at least what we have full control over, is the delivery time. So I have an algorithm that sorts whoever works faster, then gets a faster placement on the app. Okay. Again, you've realized that there's this sort of promo tags on different merchants. So when we started that, we had people creating I don't know if I should call them promotions, but then because they just want to have that tag, that's promo tag. Be like, okay, they're just playing around with our minds. I'm like, if probably a beef burger was 6,000, let me make as if I'm doing a buy one get one free and make it 10,000. I'm like, so playing around with the numbers. So that's what creates a sort of conflict of interest, and it gets back to us digging deep and really get to understand restaurants' business as much as they understand it. We want to understand it as well, so we don't fall in that trap of doing that. Same thing for the riders as well, because some feedbacks that we get as well, we're trying to work on is because our riders are paid incentives and per order as well. So we have a sort of hybrid payment method. So on a very good day, you wake up and you see that rider A has 20 orders a day and rider B has 10. And there's already a conflict of interest, right? So sometimes he speaks to the office, dispatchers, and then be like, just assign to me faster orders so I can deliver more. And so it's these daily challenges that we deal with on a daily basis. But I would say my first step to deal with that is actually being part of it. Not probably delegating some of the team members to solve it, but then you got to understand and see it and actually analyze it as a bigger business blocker that can literally make you go out of business in a single day. As you said, in Rwanda, word of mouth really works well. We all know how Twitter works, and it probably takes 10 tweets a week to lose a couple of customers. And then to the second one, to be honest, it actually it's one of the reasons that we introduced these daily stand meetings as short as 20, 30 minutes, because I think it's within a human nature. After, you can't imagine every moment we have a meeting with our delivery riders, I'm almost assured that the next day, the performance is going to be excellent. You know, all deliveries are quite fast and everything, and then it takes probably a week for them to go back in, you know, the comfort zone and be like, okay, that was just after the meeting and all. But I think creating the ownership among the team members and empowering them to actually, before we set, at least on the managerial positions, we don't set processes for the team to follow. We actually ask every department, not a head of department, but then people in the department to actually draft their daily works. So it actually helps me and the rest of the team to help people accountable for what they've committed to themselves. Even on sometimes on the contract drafting, when you're getting someone, be like, yeah, we've had a conversation, actually draft your own roles and responsibilities. So I've realized that it actually makes people be own their daily tasks. If it developed from the entry level, I don't want to be that person who's because if I set a rule, I've faced it in the team with the team as well. You set guidelines of how things should be done, but if the implementers actually don't understand it, then it's already a failure before it even starts. So I try my best to make them develop, understand the whole bigger picture, and then they develop the processes themselves, and then we share for input and all. At least that's what helps us to maintain, as you said, and thank you for saying that. Because for me, I think I'm always dealing with the team because I believe we're probably doing 30% of what we're supposed to be doing, unless with people that we have. But at least that's what helps us to maintain the list we are maintaining to date. Thank you.
Thank you all.